Now the president is making announcements all of the time. I don't know why, but I think that we got trained that it's rare for a president to always be making an announcement on television, to always be letting the people know, the people that voted him in, letting the people know what's going on. And I think that we got trained to make it rare, right? Where we only see the president maybe once a month, once after a couple of weeks, you know? And here we have Donald Trump making an announcement like every day. Every day that man is doing something. It's insane. Let's take a look what is going on Fox News because today he's making another announcement. And we're going to take a look, give you guys our opinion, and let's try to make a prediction. As a matter of fact, what time is it? It's 2:11 right now. And we're now waiting for him to come on. Here, let me show the TikTok. So we're waiting for the event to begin. And this should have always been the norm. We should have always expected the president to always talk to its citizens, to always talk to the people that voted him in. You know, you got the people that love him and you got the people that hate him. And everybody got to pay attention to what he's doing and what he got to say. Like just all over the last couple of months, everything that he's done is amazing. Some people don't like it. Some people are scared. And then other people love it. Like, for example, bringing down crime in democratic cities or just cities in America. That's been amazing. And, you know, you got people on the left wing saying that it's authoritarian, that he's going to try to take over the country and it's bad to introduce the military into our cities and to put down crime. Whereas the people that live there, that have to deal with the criminals, they're happy. They're applauding the fact that we have the military now. And so we have less crime. Now you can walk down the streets. Now you can put your wallet on, you put your wristwatch, your gold chain, and not have to worry. So pros and cons. Is he really going to take over with the military? Like impose martial law that everybody got to be home by a certain time? I really highly doubt it. I don't think he's looking to do ultimate control of the cities and the citizens. But what's your opinion? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Because, again, because I grew up in a rough city, for example, in Harlem, where crime is all of the time, I'm actually happy that the military is coming in to control the cities, to make sure nothing is happening. Make sure that the criminals are not trying to get away with whatever crime they're doing, robbing people, selling drugs, doing whatever. All right, so I'm going to leave that event window right there, waiting for the event to begin. One thing that I'm expecting him to do is say that he's sending in the military to Chicago. Chicago, just this past weekend, Labor Day weekend, 50 people were shot. That's insane. And I think like 5 people died and the other people are in the hospital, like all over the city. And I'm 100% sure they're not in elite cities. I mean, elite parts of the cities. These are at the bottom where we need more cops, where we need help. Because one weekend, 50 people, that's a national emergency. So I'm thinking part of what he's going to say right now is the fact that given what happened to Chicago, I hope he doesn't care what the mayor or the governor says. He's going to send in the military anyway because it is an emergency. People getting shot, that means there's people walking around with guns with no fear that anything's going to happen to them. And it's probably young people because, you know, when you're like below 17 and you commit a crime, you get treated as a child, so you can get away with a lot. And it's always been that way. Treat a kid acting like an adult, treat him like a child. That's crazy. It is really crazy. But I gotta keep streaming on X, I'm getting a lot of more viewers. Amazing. If you're on next, let me know what you think about this. What do you think the announcement is going to be? So Trump is all over the place. So we got the Chicago crime that he said he was going to release the army on Chicago to just the federal army or the federal military, to bring down crime. That's one announcement he could make. Another announcement he could make is the Russian war, Russian versus Ukraine war. I'm thinking that he's going to put down, that Putin and the Ukrainian president have decided to meet and come to an end of the war. So that's another announcement he could make. That's something else that Trump got going in his head. A third announcement. This past weekend, a lot of Democrats were saying that something happened to Trump. And he's probably dead. So he's probably going to come on and say, yeah, I'm not dead. The Democrats are crazy or hopeful that something happens to him. So that's another one. A third announcement is the transgender guy who went to church and killed those kids, which is crazy. That's insane. And so there's rumors that Trump is going to open more insane asylum to help people with mental health issues and put them there until they calm down and realize that they have a problem and have somebody take care of them, basically. So he may do that. He might make an announcement about that, opening up mental health asylums, because we got to take care of people with mental health issues. It is what it is. We got to stop denying or saying that it's not a problem when it is a problem. You're born a boy, you think you're a girl, you got a problem. That's an issue. A lot of people don't want to say it, but it's an issue. And so let's address the issue. Let's not pretend like you're okay when you are not. So that's another assignment he could make in today's televised announcement. What else is Trump dealing with? Another announcement that he could make is about changing the name of the Defense Department. You know, all our life we call the Defense Department or the military arm of the government, that Defense Department, because America is always defending somebody around the world. And Trump wants to change that. The man is a genius. Now he wants to call it the War Department. The War Department. You know how scary that sounds? And it should sound scary. Like Trump is putting everybody on high alert. Like, don't mess with America. So with the War Department, we're ready to go to war with anybody. So he might make that announcement that we no longer have a Defense Department. We have a War Department. Because right now he's going to war with the cartels that are smuggling drugs into America from Mexico. Trump is taking them down. And even the Venezuelan president, that's another beef that Trump is trying to take care of and have that guy indicted. The president of Venezuela. That's crazy. That's crazy. And then Trump is going to war with the judges that want to get rid of the tariffs that Trump imposed. And we all know that tariffs are the number one thing that Trump has to negotiate with, putting fear on other countries with tariffs. So if you get rid of tariffs, that's going to get rid of one more negotiating tactic that Trump has. And it will hurt the economy, the American economy. It will hurt the American people. So now we got this Democratic judge going up against Trump. And I think it's not in effect yet, but starting like October 15th, getting rid of tariffs. If Trump doesn't fight it, because Trump fights every single fight. So getting rid of tariffs or going up against a judge that wants to get rid of tariffs, that's another one that's going to happen, and maybe he will announce that. Next, another fight that Trump is having is against Lisa Cook. We all know Lisa works for the Fed. She works for Jerome Powell. And because she worked for the Fed, it looks like she decided to go ahead and cheat on her real estate and buy two properties, claiming that they're both her primary residence. So Trump is going up against her in terms of, he said, if she doesn't quit, then I'm going to fire her. So Lisa is trying to fight president, saying that you don't have a right to fire me. But the funny thing is that she doesn't say, I didn't do it. It makes you think, she cheated the system. Does anything happen to her? Or is it okay for there to be rules for thee, but not for me? Right? Like, if you cheat the system, you're going to get a strike, might get arrested, going to get a fine, something's going to happen to you. But for Lisa Cook, who works for the feds, I guess she didn't think anybody was going to look into what she was doing. But another real estate scam. I guess a lot of people does that real estate scam, and they just haven't been caught yet. So more and more people are getting caught. So let's see what happens when you commit fraud with the government. So hopefully she broke the rules. I think we all deserve to see what happens when you break the rule. So it's a good thing for us to see. And her losing her job is something that Trump, as the CEO or the president of the United States, I think has to say. He gets to decide what happens to her. And of course, it's going to be litigated and fought in court. Let's see what the court says. Everything is a fight in court. Man, thank God we got Trump in office, who's not afraid to go up against the court and just keeps winning and winning and winning. Right? So you got the Lisa Cook, he got the terrorist fight. Both of those are in court. He got the guy from, what country was that? El Salvador, who got deported, who actually was a criminal. And by the way, getting into the country is a crime. Breaking in, it's a crime. So right off the bat, he broke the law coming into America. And then on top of that, after breaking into America, start committing crimes. I'm assuming he's guessing these people don't care. This is a pro-criminal country. So people like him decided to just continue to commit crime. Not just breaking into the country, but hey, he was transporting people left to right, transporting illegals. There's rumors that he did stuff with minors, that he beat his wife. But yet the left-wing media doesn't talk about that. All they try to do is make us, you, me, feel bad about this. Feel bad about what Trump is doing. And feelings and feelings and feelings. No facts, right? The fact that we're dealing with a criminal. So I think his name is Ilhan Omar. No. I forgot his name, but that Spanish guy, he's going to get deported. All right, we have a message here by Desiree Barbin. Oh, Jesus, shut up. How did your family get in the country? See, and that's the problem. How did my family get in the country? You know what the problem is? My family had to wait. They had to fill out an application and submit the application with a lot of money. Once you submit your application with a lot of money, then you got to get in the back of the line and wait for your name to be called, go in an interview, pass the interview, and then let in. But they didn't just come through the border. They didn't break the law. They didn't. Hold on, let me take this out. What are we looking at? Yeah, so my family actually had to apply. And you know what happens when you apply? You get pissed off when other people just cut through the line. Think about that. You make a line. I don't know what city you're from, but if you make a line to pay for something like at the grocery stores or the bank, and somebody walks in from the streets and cuts everybody and goes to the front of the line, wouldn't you be mad? I'd be like, yo, hold up, who's this? Like, who the hell is doing this? Is this like the president's son? or the owner's son who gets to just cut through the line. So getting into America is extremely long process. You got to pay a lot of money and you have to wait your turn. So anybody that broke into the country, you're cheating. You're cheating everybody, including all the immigrants that paid to get in here. The number one country on earth. So, Desiree, we got to speak up. The immigrant got to speak up because those born and raised here don't know the struggle that we went through just to get in this country. So now my mother came in, she gave birth to me. I was born in this country, so I don't got to worry. And as a matter of fact, I got family that got deported. Shout out to my cousin, Jay Smith, Harrison Sanchez, who came to this country as a young boy, 10 years old. And he saw this country for what it was, so easy that he became a criminal, started committing crimes, and yes, ended up getting deported. I got two cousins that got deported for hitting the streets in Harlem, running the streets. And back in the days, if you get arrested 3 times, you will get deported automatically because you're not learning your lessons. So look him up. He got a YouTube show called Box Center with Jay Smith. Real name Harrison Sanchez. You could look it up and Google it. Big criminal. And now he's in his country learning his lesson that in the Dominican Republic, there's no electricity. There's no water. Life is hard. Like this country is crazy how America makes everything so easy. Like I have running water. I have electricity. And we take it for granted because that's the norm. But not in other countries. Other countries are struggling. So two of my cousins are deported. Shout out to my other cousin, Milt. Or he's Dominican now, so he's not Milt. I think it's Henry. Shout out to my cousin Henry. It is what it is. What time is it? Trump is taking too long to talk. It says here we're waiting for the event. All right, so as we wait for Trump to come up and say a couple of words, we're just going to say, those of you who don't understand immigration, maybe you should sit this one out and let things play out. All right? You're an illegal migrant, you get rounded up. Now they're trying to use words like kidnap. You're not getting kidnapped. You're getting sent back home. There was a recent story that a plane took a bunch of kids back to Guatemala. And a judge turned the plane around and said, bring that plane back. We cannot take those kids back to their country. But it's like we are separating those kids from their parents who are waiting for those kids back in their country. So who's doing wrong? Who's doing right? It's crazy. Again, we got to deport everybody just for breaking into this country. As a matter of fact, how did those kids get in this country to begin with? Who kidnapped those kids and brought them to America? So then we got to take care of them. And I think the best way to take care of those kids is to send them back home. Reunite them with their parents. That's it. They don't belong in this country. And that's the best thing to do. And you know what? That's my stake on illegal immigration. You're here illegally, you broke the law. That's it. End the conversation. Like, how in the hell did you get this far safely crossing a border? You know? Not only that, is the adults doing it, making the kids follow along because there's safety when you have children. You know, we treat children different than we do, obviously, grown adults. So let's see what Trump got to say. All right, so we try to predict what else Trump was going to say. It's crazy because Trump is all over the place. And we're leaving it to the right guy because he's already a billionaire. The guy knows how to make money. So he's treating the country like a business. Like even with Intel, he's giving the United States 10% of Intel, 10% of that business. And he said it's not for him, it's for the country. So like that, we get some money. I really can't wait for the stimmy checks to come in. I can use those stimulus checks. And I think we all can. People got to stop acting like they're rich. But those stimulus checks, hey, I could use every dollar. So now that we got 10% of Intel, plus all the money we're making from trade, hey, we should get a stimmy check. All right, let's check out this video of Miller talking about Abreu Garcia. And I'm going to play this video while we wait for Trump to come in and talk for the Oval Office. And while we wait, let's get some information about the people that work for him. Let me play the video. Abreu Garcia, that's the guy. That's getting deported to Uganda. Yo, that's crazy. He doesn't want to go back to his country, so he's going to Uganda? Other side of the world? That's insane. Like he's trying to be slick and say he got problems in his country and he's afraid to go to his country. So they said, okay, let's go to Uganda. You know how crazy that is? That is truly crazy. All right, that other video is not coming up. All right, what other prediction do you think we should have for Trump? What announcements is he going to make? Comment down below. Let me know what announcement you think he's going to make. Let me try to fix the video here. By the way, my name is Noel. Here at Verbal on Life, I'm trying to create a podcast. Hopefully you enjoy the content and gain something from it. Right now we're streaming Trump's new announcement for today, September 2nd, 2025. Because we know what Trump is doing is amazing. It's 2:35 and Trump hasn't come in yet, so I can only assume that he's scheduled to come on at 3, which is in 30 minutes. But because we're dealing with Trump, it could be at any time. He's that good. Right here is Miller at the White House. Let's see if this works.
I think a lot of even journalists maybe may not realize what we mean when we say sanctuary city. You know, it's
All right, hold on.
a term that can have a lot of meanings. It can mean free welfare for legal.
That's another problem you just pointed out. Free welfare for illegal migrants. That's insane. How can you come to this country illegally and get welfare?
Immigrants and often does, and free benefits for illegals and often does. But the core definition is used by ICE of.
All right, my internet is slow. Oh, that's another thing that Trump is going to get rid of. Voting by mail. Hopefully that'll come through and people stop voting in by mail and cheating. That's another form of cheating, just voting by mail. Let's be honest. Why do the Democrats support any form of cheating? And why don't they?
Sanctuary city is a city where when an illegal alien is charged or convicted of a crime, they are not turned over to ICE for removal. So just as a simple comparison, if in, say, the state of Texas,
All right, excuse my.
10 illegal aliens are arrested for committing a crime and they're about to be released, ICE will issue a detainer and they'll be transferred from the state or local custody to ICE, and then ICE will then put them in detention and deport them. In California, they will not be handed over to ICE. They'll be released at time and place unknown, and then ICE will have to go searching for weeks, months to find them. And in many cases, those aliens will go on to commit additional serious offenses, including oftentimes, as we've seen over and over again, rape and murder. And so that is the reason why it's so essential to prioritize enforcement in sanctuary cities.
Can you comment on the Federal Register published restrictions on terms for visas for students and journalists, foreign journalists? Can you comment on the rationale for those term limits, 4 years, and then like journalists 240 days?
No, I think it's just a programmatic integrity measure to make sure that while you're in that status, you should be in fact at a school learning and educating. We found a lot of cases where someone applied for a student visa, they got it, and then 11 years later, they're still in that same status. At that point in time, obviously, your education would clearly be over. So just making sure, it's a way to cut down on fraud, to make sure that foreign students are actually being educated at schools and are not just staying on that status without actually being enrolled students.
And journalists, like they limiting them to 240
it's
days?
just a program integrity measure. That's all.
On the summit last Monday, South Korea, United States summit, is there any joint statement upon by both countries? If not, why?
I don't have any news to make on that except to say that the president has been very clear about his expectations for South Korea in terms of what an investment deal, in terms of what a fair and balanced trade deal looks like. And our Secretary of Commerce is working on that as we speak, as of course is the rest of the president's trade team. And as soon as we have an update, we'll share it with you.
Mr. Miller, would
yes.
the U.S. tariff Norway after its sovereign wealth fund said it wouldn't invest in Caterpillar for selling to Israel? Do you have any insight into that?
No insight right now. Sorry.
And then separately, the Lisa Cook court hearing ended with no decision. Have you spoken with the president about that hearing today?
I don't have any update on that except to say that the president's authority as the head of the executive branch to terminate executive branch employees is a plenary authority that is fundamental to our constitutional order. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. On Kilmar Arbor Garcia, could you just speak a little bit about the administration's decision to keep him in ICE detention, taking up a bed when he's already on the U.S. Marshals Monitoring Service because of the criminal criminal trial, and also if you could speak to the decision to, or the plan to deport him to Uganda. The judge in the immigration case raised concerns about coercion with that in a hearing earlier this week.
Why would it be coercion to send somebody to Uganda?
They said it was possible coercion. They didn't make.
No,
a
no.
final
I'm
statement
just
on it.
yes.
Yeah,
It was
because
a
of
rhetorical.
plea
It
deal.
was a rhetorical question, which I'll address. But so first of all, this is the issue with crazy liberal judges everywhere: is people who are a clear flight risk, a clear threat to public safety, get released over and over and over again. We see that here in Washington D.C. Not in the immigration context, but you see individuals all the time who are charged with extremely serious crimes. They are released on their own recognizance, and they go on to commit robbery, muggings, carjackings, murder. I mean, I've seen example after example of extremely serious felony, including homicides, where the individual would have been in jail but for the fact that they were released by a judge. Obviously, the U.S. government was someone who is at extreme flight and public safety risk, like Garcia. We are not going to allow them to be on the street where they can engage. I mean, this is someone, as you know, who's not only a member of a terrorist organization, who's not only been accused of battery, but who's been accused of grave crimes against children. This is not someone we're going to allow to be out on the street. Now, so the point about Uganda, you just have to marvel at this. The same left-wing NGOs who tell us that we should open our borders to all the poor countries of the world also tell us that it would be unfair, improper to have anybody live in those countries. Well, if those countries don't have good systems of law and good systems of governance, then why would we want to have open migration from those countries? So these two propositions are in complete conflict. But more fundamentally, remember, Garcia has said he doesn't want to go back home to El Salvador. That's what he said. So we're honoring that request by providing him with an alternate place to live. We're not a travel booking agency. It's not our job to say to illegal alien terrorists, pick your favorite destination in the world and we'll send you a charter jet there. We have countries that have very graciously agreed to help resettle nationals from other countries, which is a great benefit to the United States. And obviously that's something that Garcia is eligible for.
Stephen, the French president has said today that if Putin doesn't have talks with Zelensky, then President Trump will have been, quote, played. Is that true? Is President Trump being played by President Putin at the moment?
Such an absurd question. President Trump has achieved 7 peace deals in 7 months. No president in history has done more to advance the cause of peace. He's been nominated by multiple world leaders for the Nobel Peace Prize. Literally no president, not just in our lifetimes, but that I can think of in American history, and no world leader anywhere today, anywhere on earth, has done more to advance world peace than President Trump. He's ended the conflict between Israel and Iran. He's ended the conflict between Rwanda and Congo, between India and Pakistan, Azerbaijan. I mean, example after example after example. And obviously he's working steadfastly to end the killing in Ukraine. And keep in mind, this is President Biden's war. It started because of President Biden, and President Trump inherited President Biden's war, and he's working steadfastly to end the killing. And that's something that everyone in the world should celebrate. Yes.
Stephen, as President Trump,
behind the decision not to allow members of the PLO and the PA to come for the United Nations, given that it's always been the norm that people who are part of official delegations get the right to come to the UN.
Well, I would let the Secretary of State comment more on it, but I mean, very straightforwardly, we've been very clear when it comes to our visa system that we are going to take all necessary steps to prevent our visa system from being used by individuals who may support or espouse terrorism or terrorist activity. Yes.
Ask you about visa for foreign journalists.
Oh, sorry. No, I already answered that question. Yes.
How confident is the White House that you can permanently nominate a CDC director that sort of balances the vaccine stance of Kennedy with someone that could pass the Senate?
Well, as we know, I mean, so we'll find an incredible nominee. I'm not worried about that at all. But it's a good opportunity to talk about the CDC issue more broadly. As we know, the CDC's credibility was shattered during the COVID era. This is now widely understood and widely acknowledged. And CDC used to be, of course, seen widely around the world as a premier health agency. And much of the world discovered in the last few years that CDC was actually staffed by a lot of very partisan, very political bureaucrats who weren't at all concerned about public health and weren't actually very knowledgeable about public health. And we are working hard. And more importantly, Secretary Kennedy, one of the world's foremost voices, advocates, and experts on public health, is working hard to restore the credibility and the integrity of CDC as a scientific organization committed to the scientific method and getting to the root causes of the public health epidemic in this country. You know, there's one chronic illness after another where we have seen incidences and rates in the Western world in general, and America in particular, skyrocket over recent decades and years, both childhood illnesses and adult illnesses. And we know that the drivers of these chronic illnesses are things that can be explained both through environmental factors, both through pharmacological factors, as well as other things that impact public health and well-being. But there has been no serious effort until Secretary Kennedy came along to deal with these systemic root drivers of chronic health. And it's an honor to be able to work with Secretary Kennedy as he tackles these issues on behalf of President Trump.
Does the president have any hesitancies about any of Secretary Kennedy's actions or leadership?
Secretary Kennedy has been a crown jewel of this administration, who's working tirelessly to improve public health for all Americans, and again, to deal with the drivers of the chronic health crisis in this country.
Will the new CDC director be more aligned with President, with Kennedy?
Sorry, over here, yes.
Thank you. At what point do you expect the crime operation in DC to end, taking into account that 30-day limit on federation of police force?
So it's a great question. So first of all, we appreciate the comments from the mayor acknowledging how profound a difference President Trump's leadership has made in reducing crime and violence in the city. And I can say on a personal level, as somebody who has lived in this area for 2 decades, the transformation has been breathtaking. And we hear every day from members of the community, but particularly from longtime members of the community and native Washingtonians, been here for many years, in some cases whose families have been here for many years, that they're just overflowing with gratitude at how safe and clean the city has become, and how the parks are open again, and the sidewalks are clean again, and they're not worried about getting shot or mugged or carjacked. The president has the authority under both that statute as well as inherent Article 2 authorities to maintain control of the federal and local policing in the city for as long as he may desire. But at a more fundamental level, the key point is that this is the capital city of the United States, and the president is going to do whatever is necessary in order to ensure that the capital is the safest big city in the country. And of course, we want all cities to be the safest that they could possibly be. But here right now in the nation's capital, this is a historic effort to transform our nation's capital into something that is the envy of the world in terms of beauty, in terms of safety, in terms of community. And it really is a wonderful thing to watch that happening. But there are a lot of deep systemic challenges we have to overcome. There are scores of organized street crews in the city that are comprised of career criminals that are engaged in narcotics trafficking and weapons trafficking and organized gang violence that represent a severe, acute public safety threat to the city. And we have DEA, FBI, ATF, and every federal law enforcement agency working to root out the chronic gang violence in this community.
Okay, I'm going to pause it because Trump is now in the Oval Office making his announcement. So let me play that video for you guys so we can all hear Trump's announcement from the Oval Office. What we all been waiting for. All right, let's see. Let's see if our predictions work out. Even the left-wing media is playing what Trump is doing. Or what Trump is saying.
I also want to thank.
All right, hold on. Let's see here. All right, let's take a look.
billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier,
Hold on, let me back it up a little. So we can,
Huntsville in particular. So congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs and probably.
all right, let me back it up. Sorry about the tone. All right, here we go. What is he saying?
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important day and an important announcement with great friends of mine. I think I can say
Yeah.
this group is every one of them. I rate a 10. I can't always say that, even if they're Republicans, and these are Republicans, great Republicans. I want to thank you all for being here for this important announcement, 7 years in the making. As you know, this has been going on for a long period of time, and I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. Okay, so Huntsville, Alabama, we love Alabama. I only won it by about 47 points. I don't think that influenced my decision, though, right? That didn't, right? But we had a lot of competition for this, and Alabama's getting it. Huntsville in particular. So congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. And that's billions, because it can't be millions. It's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job. And Secretary of the Air Force, Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to give my condolences. Your grandmother, her grandmother just passed away. She was 100, right?
100, and she loves you, Mr. President.
Well, and she was very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you. So thank you, Katie.
Wonderful woman.
She must have been. To produce you indirectly, I can tell you she had to be. Tommy Tuberville, who's a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that up.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, is right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. Representatives Barry Moore, all great friends, Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force. So important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia. And now we're far and away #1 in space, and reestablished Space Com with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the Spacecom headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections, because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, Spacecom will play a key role in building the Golden Dome, as you know. That's going to be a big thing. Everybody wants to be a participant in it. Missile Defense Shield, we're going to be having a Golden Dome that the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. The finest, the best. And by the way, Canada called. They want to be a part of it, and that'll be great. But Canada wants very much to be included in that, and then we're going to work something out with them, I hope. It will also ensure that our technological capabilities, of which we're way ahead of anybody else, there's nobody close, remain unmatched long into the future. So I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words. He was very much a part of it. And really, everybody behind me was. Every one of these people would call me and lobby me. I said, Katie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. She said, that's right, sir. That's what I want. And they got their way. So I just want to congratulate. These are really special people. They're politicians in many ways, but they're great patriots, I think even more so than politicians. So they fought very hard to get it, and it's an honor to give it to Huntsville. Pete, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, right place, right time, for the right reason. In your first administration, you established the Space Force at a time when we knew we had to be looking to that domain of space. You also reestablished SpaceCom to ensure that priority was put in place, and you, through the Air Force, independently identified that Huntsville, Alabama was the right place to put it. For other reasons, in the next administration under Biden, they decided to move it somewhere else. Well, during that time, the DoD Inspector General, the Government Affairs Office, they did their own assessments, and where did they say SpaceCom should go? Huntsville, Alabama. So what you're doing today, Mr. President, is restoring it to precisely where it should be based on what the Space Force, the Air Force, your leadership believes will give us strategic advantage in the future. That is Huntsville, Alabama. We are way ahead in space, but this will ensure we stay leaps and bounds ahead, because that's the most important domain. Whoever controls the skies will control the future of warfare. And Mr. President, today you're ensuring that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, we are grateful for your leadership on this and restoring Space Command to its rightful home in Huntsville, Alabama. This delegation has worked together, both chambers, both parties, to make sure that Huntsville was the place that Space Command called home. As was mentioned, obviously the Biden administration chose to make this political. What we want to do is put the safety and security of Americans first. We want to make sure that our war fighter is put first, and we want to make sure that America continues to lead. And today, Mr. President, you've allowed that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great day for our country, not just for our state of Alabama. We need help in our military. We need to catch up. And as Secretary has said, we're not behind in space, but we know where we're at, and we need to expound on that. Now, this move will save the taxpayers $480 million. It's not going to cost more. It's going to cut $480 million. We have the plans intact. It'll be behind a secure wall in Huntsville, Alabama, at Redstone Arsenal. We have 40,000 people there. We have the FBI there. We have missile defense there. We have NASA, Blue Origin, and SpaceX. It is the perfect place for Space Command. I would tell you today, and I've spoke with the president for the last 3 or 4 years about this. If I thought it needed to go somewhere else because I understand the security of our country, I'd be for that. But the best place for Space Command is Huntsville, Alabama, because what we have and what it means to this country is going to be so important. So thank you, Mr. President, for this. And we look forward to building a huge Space Command and having the Donald J. Trump Space Command Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, Mr. President, thank you. I'll be very brief here. I lobbied the president hard to put it in Ohio, but he said these people behind us, these Alabamas, are just too powerful and too persuasive. And so it's in Alabama. But as Tommy said, this is exactly the right place for Space Force and Space Command. I think Americans ought to appreciate the fact that you can't win the battle of the future unless you control the skies. The cyber security, the communications, the entire infrastructure of the battle in the 21st century will be in space. So it was a visionary move in the first administration for the president to set up Space Force. And I think an equally visionary move to make sure that Space Force is right where it should be in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, anybody want to say anything? Would you like to say?
Mr. President, another promise made, another promise kept. You think about it, Redstone Arsenal is critical to national security. The president said when you were the 45th president, let's do what's right for national security. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not because of this or that. It's because it's right for national security. You think of the 21 categories that were evaluated to determine what was best for national security. All indicators pointed back to Huntsville, Alabama, and Redstone Arsenal. We have the right people at the right place at the right time. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the 5th Congressional District and all of Alabama, thank you for keeping your word. Absolutely.
Let me just say, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. And thank you for doing this because it was the right thing to do. When they looked at all the numbers, Huntsville was the place to go. And like you say, it was unfortunately pulled out, but you made it right. So I want to just say thank you again for a grateful nation, and to the state of Alabama. We're very grateful. Thank you and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout history, militaries has always understood that whoever could hold the high ground held the advantage. Space is the ultimate high ground. And what we're doing with moving the Space Command to Huntsville is absolutely critical to our maintaining dominance in that sphere. And it goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do with the Golden Dome and missile defense to defend against anyone else who tries to enter that sphere. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. And obviously, national defense is a huge issue. And when you look at the scores, Alabama was #1. And for political reasons, it was moved out of our state. But, Mr. President, thank you for making priorities the defense and the warfighter and the safety of this nation. And in the big, beautiful bill, that Golden Dome will be built in Huntsville, Alabama, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Listen, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I care very much about what's most important for our national security. And the president held a nationwide competition to determine where we should have this command. If y'all remember, at the end of that competition, where Alabama came in first, there was a lot of complaints from the other states who did not place well. He said, we'll do it over with new criteria to accommodate your concerns. Alabama came in first in that second competition. His Secretary of the Air Force reviewed the results, said it was fair, and the president named Huntsville. It was the Biden administration that decided to make it political, even though his own Secretary of the Air Force said it was a fair competition and it should be in Huntsville. So I want you to know I appreciate this president standing up and being strong and saying he's going to make this right and put it where it
Alabama.
rightfully belongs. That's Huntsville, Alabama.
Alabama.
So thank you all very much. You are going to leave me alone now. You're not going to call me anymore and talk about this subject, right? You promise? They'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just over the last few minutes literally shot out a boat, a drug carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it. We didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please?
Questions.
Yeah, please.
Senator Somerville talked about the cost savings
Yeah.
associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about moving to this location, moving to Alabama, Huntsville in particular. So we're honored to do it. They really wanted it badly and they got it. Peter?
Something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really?
I didn't see that.
You know, I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him. And we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff. Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why
Fake.
the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, you know, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. It'd have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, and you know. But I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have. There's something going on. And it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin? In the
Yeah,
past
I
week?
don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President
Yeah.
Zelensky?
Yeah, there
and
will
what
be.
could those consequences
We're going to
be?
see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week they lost 7,000 between the two countries. 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but you know they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with it. They should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called DC, District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter.
All right.
You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. That was Donald Trump with his great speech and announcement. We tried to make predictions. I couldn't get all of them, but I got to step out. Hopefully you enjoyed it to the point that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next one. Peace. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.